Welcome back to the Modern Ham, where we are connected in new old ways. Today we're going to be installing YAAC, yet another APRS client on Debian, Raspberry, or Ubuntu Linux, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the Packet Radio series. Today we are going to be setting up a APRS client on Linux. And this APRS client is called, for short, YAAC, but it is called Yet Another APRS Client. Last week we did Windows with Pinpoint APRS, and it's a lot more modern than the solutions that we have for Linux, but through my research, YAAC seems to be a pretty solid choice, and it's available on Raspberry, Ubuntu, and Debian, which I'll provide all the installation instructions today to do. And yeah, so this goes over the assumption that you've already got Direwolf set up, because that's part of the series. And when I say setup, that means you have Direwolf working with some type of push-to-talk or Vox with your radio. I really prefer you do push-to-talk. And you also have, that's basically it. If you're not following, if you don't have that set up and you don't have a TNC, make sure you check out the Ultimate Direwolf installation guide to make sure that you get Direwolf set up with some type of radio with the audio interface working. And we also do a few tweaks in there that might make things go a little smoother in the future. So if you guys haven't checked that out, please do. If you have your own TNC, you can still follow along here. There's just be a few things that you should change, and we'll mention it when we do. So the first thing we're going to do is just go ahead and get Direwolf started. And you should know how to do that by now. On Linux, we just open up our terminal and we're just going to type in Direwolf. And Direwolf should be started. Too easy. If you're not using Direwolf, you're using another TNC, just make sure it's plugged up and ready to go. So some basic vocabulary before we get started, and I did this the same thing with the Windows users, so we'll do the same thing with you guys. APRS-IS, the APRS Information System. This is just a way to describe the internet collection of nodes and routing that is available to us on the APRS infrastructure. It allows us to iGate things and allows us to route packets over the internet other places. And iGate is just a internet connected station, and if you see an iGate, just know that it typically takes RF packets and it sends them to the APRS-IS. A digipeater is basically just a APRS station that listens for packets, APRS packets, and then it repeats them. And in short, that's just to increase the range that you're transmitting. If you guys go on the blog post, there'll be, obviously more information about all of these terms, but I just want a video to pair up with all of this stuff, so I have two mediums. Now the SSID, this is a suffix that goes on the end of your call sign, and the reason we have a suffix is because typically with APRS you can have more than one station, and because of that you need more than one different way to call yourself, so we have the suffix dash and then a number. Another job that it has is it actually lets us tell other operators maybe what kind of station we are in some way. So you'll have -0 through -15. In KB9VBR on his blog, which I'll provide a link to as well, he gives a good description of what some of these suffixes really mean. Today, we're going to be using -7. It says reserved for handhelds, but I typically use it for like mobile stations altogether, things that are going to be moving around, which this station behind me usually is, and it's just going to be temporarily on the air. But just know if you're using a different type of station, it's nice to follow those guidelines. So an overlay symbol on APRS, you typically have some type of visual representation on the map, and only if you have a client like we're setting up today can you see that. Otherwise, maybe on the radio you could just see text depending on what functionality your radio has. But just know that the overlay symbol is actually a symbol code, and each client has its own representation of what that code's supposed to look like. There is a standard, and I'm going to show you guys just real quick so you're educated, that these symbol codes that make up all of these symbols are these letters and numbers. They all combine to create like a chart of maybe a house or a ship or a bicycle or a dog or whatever it be. But just know that that's what symbols are on APRS. A beacon is kind of like the meat and potatoes of APRS. So it's like a regularly interval broadcasted position report typically, and it allows basically you to report your GPS location to other operators as well as to the internet, where it can be viewed in places like APRS.fi, the website, which I'll show you guys in just a moment. There is such thing as called smart beaconing, which is apparently trademarked by something or someone called HamHUD. And smart beaconing is just a technology that calculates how often you should send a beacon based on your speed and your turn angle. So you know, you wouldn't need to beacon every minute if you're walking 1 mile per hour, right? But if you're driving 70 miles per hour, you might want to beacon more often. So that's, if you see smart beaconing in your radio, just know that's what it's for. So the instructions here should be basically universal. We're going to open a new terminal, so a new one besides Direwolf, and we're going to use this to run some of these commands that we need to install prerequisites for yet another APRS client. The first thing we're going to do is make sure we just do an update. And after that, depending on what version of distribution you're running, you're going to either install OpenJDK 8 or 11. Now, I'm running on Debian 12, so I know 11 is what I need, but just try the 8 beforehand, and you'll know it doesn't work if it gives you an error, right? If you don't want OpenJDK, you can install any version of Java you like, but I've just provided some guidelines on how to do that. If you're on Arch, you'll obviously use Pacman. So once Java is installed, we're also going to need a package called unzip. So we're going to go ahead and install that as well. Let's see if I can, wish I could zoom into the terminal. There we go. Well, it says zoom, but really we're just making it whatever. We have a terminal. So unzip should be installed. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new folder for yet another APRS client, and we're going to download it. So I'll also provide these commands to make the folder, and then we're going to wget. I forgot this command in the blog. I'm glad I'm looking over it now. Real quick, if you haven't already, we're going to do one more command, and it's going to be sudo apt install wget. And you may already have this, but just in case, I'm going to put that there. So with that said, let's go ahead and use that wget command to download the YAAC software, the zip file. And once that's downloaded, we're going to unzip that into the folder that we just created. Next, we're going to cd into that folder. Too easy, right? And once we're in here, we're just going to run the software. And to run it, it's going to be Java. Let's move this over. Space -jar space YAAC.jar. And this should start software, fingers crossed. And this is Java. It will run on many platforms. Now, once it starts, you may get an error if it's your first time. It looks like it's actually pulling in a config that I already had. I tried to delete that, but apparently it didn't work. So if yours looks a little different from mine, don't worry. We're going to go through configuring it anyways. So first thing we're going to do is going to go to File, Configure, and Expert mode. So File, Configure, Expert mode. And we're going to run through some of these settings. So we don't really need to worry about anything in the General tab. So we're going to go over to the Ports tab. And I have 2 ports here. I'm going to delete them because I want to start fresh. So the first port we're going to add is for Direwolf. And so that's why you need Direwolf running. It says gone away just because I just disconnected it and I had it before. But you should have Direwolf running. And we're going to add a new port. Now this new port, and this is going to be different if you guys are not running Direwolf. but if you are, we're going to change this to KISS over TCP. Now, if Direwolf's running on the same computer or server like mine is here in the background, you're going to leave this as localhost. But if you might have Direwolf running, and you'll know if you do, maybe on a Raspberry Pi in a window and it's a different IP from where YAAC is running, you'll need to put Direwolf's IP address in there. And let's follow the blog. So we're going to set our call sign, and we're going to set transmit to enabled. And we're going to enable digipeating, because why not? So the call sign, I'm going to say KN4MKB. And let's see, does it have that suffix there? It does not. So we have that here. We're going to hit transmit and change that to enabled, because we want to be able to transmit over RF. And for the digipeats for port, we're going to enable WIDE 1 and WIDE 2-2. This is going to provide digipeating. If you don't want to digipeat packets, it's fine, but I'm just showing you that you can do that pretty easily just by enabling that here. So after that, we're going to go ahead and hit save. And if you look at your Direwolf, you should notice now that you have a new application attached, and that's what YAAC is. Now we're going to also add one more port, and this is going to be for the APRS-IS. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our passcode for APRS-IS. The passcode is just there to prevent bots and spam from getting into the APRS-IS network. It's not a super secret password. It's actually generated by your call sign. So navigate to the website that I have here, and you're going to put in your call sign, and you're going to hit get passcode. And so you're going to take that passcode, and I don't care about showing it to you guys. Once again, it's open source. This isn't some authentication. It's just to prevent bot spam. So once I have that passcode, I'm going to go over back to YAAC, and I'm going to hit add another port. And here, this time I'm going to select APRS-IS. And for the APRS-IS server host name, depending on your country, most of my viewers are going to be noam.aprs2.net. But just know that if you're in Europe, Asia, or Oceania, or wherever it be, you can select a different server there. The server port needs to probably be left blank, and it says APRS-IS password. We're going to leave, it's not a password, it's a passcode. That's going to be the code that we just retrieved from your call sign. Now, we're also going to enable transmission. And this means that if we hear packets on RF, we're going to send them over to the APRS-IS. So I'm going to hit save. And that should get us a connection to the APRS-IS network. Now, we're also going to enable beaconing. And to do that, we're going to go to the beacon tab. And I'm going to say add new beacon. And I'm just going to make this, I'm just going to call it my town. Why not? We're going to enable station beacon type position. And we're also going to set our latitude and longitude. Where do we get that latitude and longitude? Well, I'm going to show you a cool website you can go to, APRS.fi, which is also where we're going to check in just a moment. And if you navigate to where you expect your station to be, you can put in a zip code here, wherever you like. Just navigate to where you expect your station to be, right? Now, as you hover your mouse, you should see coordinates over here on the top right. Those coordinates, and we're doing this so we don't have to do any weird conversions, those coordinates are the ones that are going to go in YAAC. So I'm going to pull this back up, and I'm going to move it in such a way that I can see, I can put my mouse where it needs to be. And so I have 3742.65. So I'm going to say 42.65 here. And my longitude is going to be 8553.20. So we're going to say 53.20. And I just got it from this latitude and longitude up here. So our display symbol, we're going to do a house because we're sitting in a house, right? Too easy. Here, let me refer back to my blog to make sure I'm not missing anything. We're going to set our monitor frequency, and we're going to set a little free text message, and then we're going to save our changes. So the monitor frequency, this is going to be the frequency that you're listening on. It just lets other operators know, hey, I'm listening to simplex, you know, if that's what it be. I'm going to put in 146.520 for the simplex. And this free text is kind of like a little neat little message that goes with your beacon. And for this, I'm going to say eTown YAAC Client. That's all I'm going to put, just to let people know what I'm doing. Once you get done putting all this information in, we're going to hit Save Changes. Good. So now, let's go back to ports. First, highlight this port 1, and you're going to hit Edit. And you'll see over here on the beacons, now we have that beacon we just created. We're going to go ahead and say, we're going to check it to enable it, and we're going to hit Save. And we're going to do the same thing over here with this guy here. So we're going to check it, we're going to enable it, and we're going to hit Save, and we're going to make sure it's turned on. So once we have that set up, let me get back to where I was here. Make sure I'm not missing anything. So once we have that set up, we're basically done with the configuration part. You're going to notice that probably your map's going to start populating with symbols, which is good. Each of these symbols, it'll show you if it's either, you know, coming from the APRS-IS or if it's coming from RF. So you may notice that you don't have any maps. There's a couple ways to solve this. So one, you can go to File, you can go to OpenStreetMap, and if you hit Download OpenStreetMap Extract Dataset, it's going to give you some links to go to, such as the openstreetmap.org website, and you can go in and download maps. And if you'd like, you can, once you download those OSM files or those maps, you can go back over and hit Import Raw OSM Map File. Now, that's the difficult way to do it, but you'll get offline maps no matter if you're connected to the internet or not, which could be handy. For the sake of the video and for ease of use, we're going to do download pre-imported tiles, right? And if we do this, this latitude and longitude, what this is going to do is it's going to download some map tiles in a specific area that we're in that we can use, but it needs a latitude and longitude. So I'm going to set it as the one that I'm currently centered on, which I can see down here as 3715.79. And then 8551.29. And this is like the radius of files you'd like to download. That should pretty much do it for me. I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to start downloading some of these map tiles. So I'll see you guys in just a second. Great, so the map tiles are done downloading. And now you'll be able to kind of scroll in and start seeing that we're completely in the wrong place. That might have been just a default position. That's definitely not what we set our latitude and longitude to. I think I know what's happening here. So I forgot to mention, if you go to your ports, let's take a look at one of these ports real quick. I'll just highlight it and hit edit. You'll notice that the default beacon is still on. We're going to turn that off, and I'll show you guys why. So go back to your ports. If you go to File, Expert, Configure, make sure that you disable this default beacon. Why? Well, if you go over to the beacon and you go to that default beacon, you'll see that the position, it sets a position and it's wrong. It just zeroes it out by default location. We don't want that. So make sure that your software is only using the beacon that we just configured. If you do that, your symbol should go to the right area. And you'll see these icons start popping up. I'm going to show you, if you go to APRS.fi, which is our the information system viewer, right? You can see packages that are reported there. You'll see that our YAAC client propagated over TCP/IP because of that APRS-IS connection over to the right client. So that's good. And it's just showing I traveled that far just because of that weird default beacon we had set before. Not a problem. But you can see there on that website to make sure you're getting it in there okay. Now here, we should be, as well as interfaced with APRS-IS, we should be interfaced with Direwolf. So packets that come in from RF, you'll see this little black RF symbol. You can click on that to enable it. But as long as these are dark, they should be good. You can also send messages with YAAC. So if you go down here, it'll be pre-populated with symbols that are already in your area that is picked up on the map. Or you can type in a call sign of your own down here. And you can also choose how to send it to people. Usually you'll probably just want to do wide 1-1, wide 2-1, which means that you'll send it over RF and it might be digipeated at least one time. And then you'll type in your message. So that's pretty much the basics. You can go around the map and you can do things like click different symbols to see more information about each station. You can also right-click certain stations and say we want to go ahead and send a message to him. We can just left-click it, and that'll pull that up. And there's all kinds of different things that you can do here, right? You can also query different station types. So say I want to send a query, and I want to see, let's find all of the, and this doesn't usually return a lot of results, but I'm just showing you guys. Let's find all the local weather stations. So I'm going to ping all RF local weather stations. If I do that, and you take a look at Direwolf, you should see that we are sending that query out. Hey, is there any weather stations? Now, not all APRS clients are configured to correctly respond to that, but just know that you can send these queries. Let's try maybe this one. Maybe this one will return something. We can send those queries. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Navigating in the map's pretty intuitive. You just kind of click and drag yourself around. Click stations. It's pretty much all there is to it. You basically have your own APRS client now on Linux. You can let this run and you can use it as a digipeater. So you can use it as an iGate, kind of like how we had it configured. And you can use it just to have situational awareness of RF packets that are around your area. And see it visually. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I did the pinpoint APRS for Windows just to show people how to get their own APRS client working on Windows. And so obviously I needed to do the same thing for Linux. And so that pretty much sums up the entire APRS packet videos that we're going to do. So we did 4 videos, I think. We did setting up Direwolf. We did setting up Direwolf for iGate and digipeating, and we also did APRS on Windows and APRS on Linux. So next week we're going to go ahead and start digging into BBS software. So if you guys have been waiting on that, which I know a lot of you will have, stay tuned for that. If you guys had any trouble getting YAAC running on your Linux distribution, let me know down in the comments and we'll take a look at it. Anyways, that will be it, and 73 to you.